Thank you for joining me out in my driveway. Today, we've got something that a lot of us deal with, owning a lot of vehicles that we don't get to drive too much, and that's jumping in, hitting the key, and just getting a click. So, what do we do to keep these vehicles from dying out with the battery on us? There's a couple of choices. You can always have the battery tenders. I have never had good luck with them. They take a little bit of forethought to plug them in. Always have to have them around. They're not waterproof, and things can get not good there, and they blow up. So, the other thing, you could just have something that you unplug your battery every time you get out of the vehicle, and then they'll keep the energy stored up for when you need it. That again takes some thought to get under the hood, kind of a pain in the butt, so that's not the way I'm going either. What I decided to do was go with solar panel. They're kind of neat little systems. I've got one for the Raider, one on the Camry, and then I've got a big one on the P30. So let's take a look at and see how all that works. Alright, so these devices are very simple to install. There's just a small little box that goes inside your vehicle, and then your solar panel plugs into that box, and then that box plugs into your battery. So all that you really have to do is get your solar panel. The ones I have are, I believe, like a 30 watt, and then I believe like a 100 watt, something like that. But just have to get a couple brackets. Mine, I had to drill out a couple different holes with the way everything fit in there, just so it made it work with the roof rack. So once I got those drilled out, got the brackets on there, I was able to start weaseling it into that cargo rack. So a quick little run with some strips of aluminum and some zip ties, and that's held in pretty damn well. Now the P30, that was a much bigger panel, so different brackets drilled and riveted that into the roof of the P30. And then with the Camry, we have yet to put the roof rack on that, so that's going to have to wait until that point so it can just sit on the roof. Now with the Raider, I still have the wire coming in from here. I'm going to have to make a decision whether I want to leave it on the outside of the vehicle here, which we probably could. Looks like we've got enough room. We could fit it through the fender and probably just have it up inside on the inside and just let the door close on it, and it should hold it pretty darn well. So that's basically what we got going on with these things. Now let's go talk about future and past of this channel here. Like, I haven't posted in quite some time because, you know, things happen. I was sick for about a week and a half at the end of last month, so that kind of killed off for 2 weeks of getting anything out. Kind of laid up on the couch, not too good there. Then had to hurry up and get the Crossfire ready for a small local car show, just to make it to some sort of event for the year. And then while doing that, I ended up falling down the last couple stairs of the attic stairs in the garage. So someday I'm gonna have to fix them so they're not as sketchy. So that messed up my back and laid me up for another week or so. And then of course the local Gestapo stopped by and said that I had too many cars laying around. So they were a little dickish about it, but in all actuality, anything that's licensed, insured, and works, there's nothing they can say about it. So unfortunately, that meant that my initial plan for the winter project, and probably a year afterwards maybe, has been pushed back. So we've got our next project sitting here in the garage that we can go take a quick look at. Now, if you've been around the channel, you might have seen it lingering in the background of quite a few videos, but this time we're actually going to hopefully address the elephant in the room, and we're going to do something with the OG project truck. Shabam! Talk about something making your garage look smaller. So like I said, this guy's the original project vehicle. It's something I bought in 2002 for the intent of rebuilding, and rebuild it I did. But then, as luck would have it, engine flattened out the flat tappet camshaft and ate a lifter, so it completely mungered up that whole thing. So I shoved that into the back corner, kind of gave it a big old timeout, and stole its wheels and tires and threw them on the Raider when I built that up. So that means we got to tackle this pig. Alright, so any of the keen eyes around there will realize this is a late 70s Ford pickup truck. This particular one is a 76, but that doesn't really matter because a lot of the years they only really changed a couple tiny things on the grill, and everything else pretty much kept the same. So not too big things to deal with there. But what we got is this sad 390 up here. Fully rebuilt. It was, I think it was bored 60 over by the time we were done with it. And it's had a whole bunch of nice parts shoved in there. A lot of money spent on it. Over there, you will see a very early Holley Commander 950 throttle body. That made it run exceptionally well, and it just started beautifully. But that Commander with a narrow band O2 sensor, that you just could not get it dialed in worth a darn. So we were running probably super pig rich. And then to add to it, we had over here the DUI distributor. So I've got no real clue whether I timed it correctly. I kind of did the guess timing, so I may have been horribly off with this thing. But as a whole, not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this thing. The thought process that I have is I think I'm going to pull the motor out and look through it and see if there's any possible thought of keeping it as is. The issue I'm kind of running into is to kind of make sure that this doesn't happen again. I'm going to have to, one, clean it all up. Two, I'll probably have to get like a roller camshaft for it. That's about $1,000. And then I'd probably have to get a complete different injection system because that 950 is just not good for doing anything. So that's like another $1,200. So we're looking at maybe $2,500 to get this thing up and running the way it was again. And that kind of got me thinking, if I'm going to throw $2,500 at it, I could get a different bell housing. I could also go and get a completely different engine that is super cheap that I can wedge in there to go with that bell housing, and then get the ECU to go with that new engine. So we're looking at $700 for the motor, $500 for the bell housing. So we're what, $1,200, and then another $1,200 for the ECU. So we're at the same thing, and the difference would be we would have a more modern power plant and a fully tunable wideband ECU Holley Terminator style, and it would have full timing adjust. It's like if we wanted to have our Holley system do the timing on here, we would have to do something different with the distributor and probably switch it to individual coil packs. So we're probably add another $1,000 onto that. So $3,500 maybe, $2,500 to shove something else in there. So my thought is, if any one little part in this thing is bungered up, rusted, just not good for a quick, super fast rebuild type of thing, I think I'm just going to scrap the Big Block 390 out of here, and I'm going to shove a single overhead cam 4.6 liter mod motor. And then the thought process with that is a couple $120 turbos, and we'll be able to get this thing up to the same power as this big block. So this thing made roughly about 400 horsepower in that vicinity, and that's pretty much what I would expect with about 7 psi on a 4.6. Now you might also be wondering why I don't go something other than 4.6, but my thought process is that 4.6 is super cheap. They're a dime a dozen. You can get the full dropout, everything, and it also lets me rig everything to fit a mod motor. And there's one other engine that might make its way in here before too terribly long that shares that same mod motor bell housing. But that is going to be a plan for the next phase of this operation. So that's basically what I'm going to do. Gonna have to clean this thing up quite a bit. A lot of other in-between little work to be done, but as a whole, almost no rust on it still after being rebuilt, going on almost close to 20 years ago. Of course, we're running into the usual galvanized cowling. You can never get something to stick to it. If I decide to try painting this thing again, I might try some newer epoxy. And of course, inside, she still looks pretty nice. So that's what we're going to try to tackle. Should be kind of interesting because this is a much smaller garage than what I built this thing in. The biggest thing is, I just want this guy up and running so I can try to enjoy the initial large amount of money that I poured into this pig. Worst part was, I never really completed everything. I still never got the windshield washer squirters in. Although the bumper I designed turned out pretty decent, I'd say. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for stopping by and watching. Hopefully, we'll see you again some other time. Later.